What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the chart is showing and based off what the data is suggesting. I'm also going to talk about what the news is saying about Tesla and a major update from Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend himself, for all Tesla investors, as he does have a very important reminder for everyone out there. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk and give you guys my price prediction for Tesla for tomorrow, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,500. And you could always sell these 12 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares. This is a limited time offer. It ends in just 13 days. So please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So Tesla ended up closing up 1.11% for the day. It's a little bit green in the after hours too. And my zones that I actually drew out for yesterday were almost perfectly correct. You could see Tesla did bounce between 880 and then the next key kind of resistance zone. It's not really one specific level, was between 920 and 935, but I predicted it would be around 920 to 925. That's where Tesla would get rejected. That is what ended up happening. Now, the only thing I got wrong though was the closing. It ended up closing a little bit green, a little bit above 900. I did predict it would close a little below that, but overall pretty close. It just goes to show that these support and resistance levels tend to be very accurate. And right now I have something unfortunate to say, and that is Tesla is looking a little bit more bearish than bullish for the next day or so. I want to talk about why I feel that way, why on earth the chart is kind of showing that, and why it's showing a little bit more, how should I say, signs of weakness, so to speak. So when we look at the overall market right now, the market is pretty much very close to neutral, but a little bit on the fearful side because most investors are not 100% confident in the market just yet. And that's because we are starting to see some choppy price action here and there. Now, specifically for Tesla, I want to talk about this right here. If you look at the options chain tends to not always be very accurate or the most accurate representation of Tesla. But right now, I want to kind of call it out because sometimes it could give you an idea of what the market makers may be thinking. And right now, it does look like they want to drag this thing down just a little bit more because max pain is a lot lower than where the share price is. And there happened to be kind of a balance between puts and calls as of right now. So it does look like after the monstrous week we had last week, Tesla is set for a little bit of a cool off, which is completely fine until we get the big shareholder meeting. So until then, I do want to talk about how this could affect it. Now, when looking at Tesla, there's something very important I want to talk about, and that's how the overall market is kind of performing, because that does affect Tesla to some degree. So overall in the market, we're starting to see some kind of choppy price action. If you look at SPY, we're seeing some, it's kind of respecting a bit of a downtrend as of right now. It's kind of bouncing between that 408 support and also that 413 level of resistance. And it didn't actually get to that 200 EMA that I was talking about, because if it did actually push that on the daily time frame, that would have been a really bullish sign for the markets. We just didn't break that just yet. And it does look like the SPY has a little room to drop from here, because if you look at, let me pull up the 2-hour time frame just to show you this gap. It does look like right here, the SPY has a gap down at 406, so it might actually come down a little bit more in the next couple of days, and that could actually drag the markets down with it. So the same thing could actually be said about the Nasdaq. It was also kind of red with SPY, and the Nasdaq and SPY have a tendency of being correlated right now. The market's very unusual. The Nasdaq also has a gap that's just $200 below where it is, which shows the market might be set for a slight pullback, not a massive one, just a slight one over the next couple of days, just a bit of a cool off after the very bullish last few weeks we had. So for Tesla, what does this mean for Tesla going forward? Now, that would just be one factor that kind of pushes Tesla down a little bit here and there, because the overall market will affect it. But overall, I'm not saying that this is the end for Tesla. It's just going to come tumbling down from there. I still think it's actually going to hold some of its very key support zones. And until we see some big announcements from the annual shareholder meeting, that's when we could see a big improvement. Now, the things you have to remember about Tesla are this, okay? I drew out this range right here, and this was to remind you guys that I see this as the very key resistance level, and Tesla is going to struggle to really break this unless something very big happens. So if we do push up again tomorrow, expect once we get to 920, between 920, 925, 930, expect major resistance right there, and it's very likely we get another rejection off that. Now, I also mentioned yesterday that we have this zone right here between 880 and 900, and I did talk about how if Tesla could not get a nice bounce off 880, at least the 880 range, we ended up bouncing off like 878, which is very close, but around that 880 range, that's where things may not be too good if we can't hold that. Now, right now, Tesla did see some price action above 900, which was a pretty good sign, but at the same time, we also ended up kind of bouncing below the low we saw from yesterday. So we actually saw Tesla show some bearish signs and some improvement here and there, but also some signals out there suggesting this thing's going to start testing these new support zones. So what does this mean for Tesla going forward? Well, if I pull up some technical indicators like the RSI and our MACD on the daily, you could see we are seeing a bit of a shift right over there. So we do have some momentum that's still kind of pushing this thing up, but we're starting to get kind of slowed down on the RSI right here. You could clearly see that. That's an indication that Tesla, I mean, it wants to like push up, but it has this like blockade that's slowing it down as it hits that 920 range. And what I essentially see is Tesla kind of trading sideways, maybe dropping a bit until we have the big annual shareholder meeting, because the share price could react to that depending on what is reported. And I do think it's going to be pretty promising because Tesla does have some big announcements. I want to actually talk about them too a little bit later. But until then, I want to talk about the key zones now and where I see the share price going for tomorrow. So looking at it, if we do end up getting a push up to like 920, expect somewhat of a rejection from there. I think that's a lot more likely. And because the overall market does look like it's slowing down a bit, and we're not getting the same volume as before, it's looking like the markets may actually kind of drop a bit and Tesla could actually drop with it too. Now, what does this mean for Tesla? The key thing to look out for is 900. Clearly, 900 is not holding us up perfectly. So it is very possible for Tesla to actually come down to that 880 zone of support. Now, it's not perfectly 880. It could be like 878, 880, like around that range. And if that doesn't hold us, right, we want to see that hold us. We want to get a bounce off that. We want to see the buyers step in when it starts testing these zones. If we don't get that, that's not going to be a good sign, and Tesla's going to come down to that 858 range, which is once again a range. It doesn't have to be perfectly there, maybe like 860, 858, 856, like around there. But I'm going to put it at around like 858. So be on the lookout for that. For tomorrow, what I do see happening as the most likely possibility based off these indicators, is when you look at my poly line tomorrow into open, it does look like the market might drop a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla actually comes down to 880 again. And we want to see a bounce off that. If we don't get that bounce, things could switch course pretty quickly. But I would like to see a nice bounce off that. And I do expect to see some like trading within this range between 880 and 900. Maybe as the day goes on, we break above 900 for some time. And if we do go as high as like 920, I do see a rejection around there. But it does look like it's starting to downtrend from here. And it looks like it might actually break below 900 for some time, start to push down a bit and trade between 880 and 900 for the majority of the day. And like I said, if that doesn't hold us, this thing could start to come down and there's a risk of it actually going as low as 860. I'm not going to predict that just for the sake of this video. I want to be as optimistic as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see this thing bounce off 865, 870, and then we push up near the end towards like the high 800s. So I do anticipate a bit of a kind of like red close for tomorrow, and I do see a downtrend starting to be respected from Tesla from here. It's a little bit hard to see, but I think it's going to become a little bit more clear for tomorrow. So this is essentially what I am predicting for tomorrow, a bit of a red close into the high 800s. And just remember the key zones in case my predictions are not always perfect, because no one could really predict the market perfectly. I do this for the viewers' sake because many viewers have requested this. But anyways, just remember, if this thing pushes up to like 920, 930, that's when we may get that rejection. And if we do start dropping, 900 could act as either resistance or support depending on where we are. And if we drop below that, look out for that 880 range. And if that doesn't hold us, then 858 would be another key zone. We could actually come down here if we are like in a really bearish possibility. If not, we could actually kind of like hold up kind of like this. But this is essentially what I'm predicting. But remember, this is just a short-term prediction. Once we get the date of the big shareholder meeting, things could actually turn in the opposite direction in a flash, depending on what is announced and how we kind of react to the news. So I want to now kind of transition into that part of this video, because if we look right here, I want to talk about some big pieces of news real quick. Tesla partners with National Technical School to train next gen of EV technicians. Once again, a nice piece of news. I just want to talk about this real quick. Tesla and Lincoln Tech are now working together to really help the next generation of their technicians, to really help them build their cars and their automakers as well. It's incredible news that they're actually planning way ahead, and that's part of what makes companies absolutely fantastic. Another good piece of news is this. This is pretty cool as well. Tesla deploys a swimming pool at the supercharger station. So now it allows people to actually, if they want, I think they're able to go into this pool just to like have some fun if they want, which is pretty awesome. It just goes to show how they're actually willing to improve the lives of their customers, because I know that the charging stations can be kind of annoying for some people. They do have to wait for some time, but right now it's just the beginning. And I see as years go on, I see these not just improving. I think charge times are going to get faster, and I see big improvements to come. So it's nothing to really worry about for the long-term future. For the short term, Tesla knows that this could kind of lead to some inconvenience, for some people, but it doesn't matter because they're still willing to improve the customer experience by providing coffee and these different commodities for their customers, not to mention a swimming pool even there. So that's pretty awesome in my opinion. So when it comes to the shareholder meeting, right, I want to talk about a couple of other big things about it. And that's the fact that Tesla, I believe, is going to promote 50% growth year over year. And I believe Tesla is going to make some big announcements. And it's not necessarily anything new, but Tesla realized that we had the big lockdowns in China. It slowed down their deliveries and so on and so forth. So they're going to ramp up everything for the second half of this year, meaning for Q3, Q4, I expect Tesla to have some very strong earnings. I expect their deliveries to explode, and they may even deliver like 900,000 or so cars just in the second half alone, with the new Gigafactories coming out to really reach that target. Now, is there a guarantee they'll reach it? The answer is no, but it's very likely they will because of their history and how resilient this company really is. And that could be very positive news for lots of investors. Now, there are other things that are going to be mentioned during the meeting, such as updates from the full self-driving technology, and also not to mention the fact that the energy sector is growing from them in terms of the percentage it takes up in their revenue. But there are some other big things I want to remind you of before the meeting, and that's something Elon Musk actually wants to remind you about, and he actually put this on his Twitter page. Musk tweeted, "Still time to vote," and he tweeted this just a couple of hours ago. So that's amazing because he's reminding you that you are a Tesla investor, you have a voice, and your voice should be heard. No matter how many shares you own, you are important and you have power over this company, believe it or not. So going forward with what he was referring to, he actually had this in his Twitter page, and this is actually what Tesla posted on the Twitter page, which states that vote at the 2022 Tesla shareholder meeting. Now, if you click this link, actually, it's going to take you into something, the page, which just goes to show what many of the propositions are. And Tesla also tweeted this, right? Before I show you the propositions or just like a part of the area where you could vote, Tesla mentioned that each shareholder, you and me, the people around us that own Tesla, has a say in our direction, including deciding on whether Tesla should be allowed to do a 3-to-1 stock split or not. So that's a very big piece of news, in my opinion. You have power over this company. This is the opportunity that you have to make your voice heard. So here on this page right here, we have the shareholder guide to vote. So many of us have different brokerage accounts. Many of us use Fidelity. I personally use Fidelity too. And the thing is, these different brokerages have different systems. Most of the time, you're going to receive an email that actually informs you about voting. And if you haven't done this already, it's very recommended to do this. Once again, I can't force you. I don't want to like inform you or like kind of sway your decision. It's up to you. But you have to really be well aware of this and check your emails and get ready to vote when the time comes, because this could be big for the company. Now, just so you know about how this essentially works, is the board vote has recommendations. So they could tell you if they're for or against certain propositions. That's up to you to decide, though. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just showing you what the board is essentially saying. And you could actually choose what you want to do with all these different things, all these different propositions. And if you go on Tesla's website, I think sec.gov actually shows this. You guys could actually see a lot of the different propositions, what they actually mean, if you want to look at each and every one of them in a very meticulous manner. So I just want to put this resource out there for you. So just that you're prepared for this time. So with that said, essentially, I think it's very important to have your voice heard, and you also have a say in the directions that this company is going to be going in. So just remember that, stay strong, and remain calm, cool, and collected. So with that said, based off the trend, based off the kind of decline we're starting to see in the RSI and the slowdown we're seeing, and based off the fact that Tesla is starting to actually drop a bit when it comes to the lows it's making, at least over the last couple of days, it's very, likely that Tesla does start to kind of drop a little bit going into tomorrow. We may be a little bit red, but it's not the end of the world. Like I mentioned before, the annual shareholder meeting is going to be, I think, after the bell closes on the 4th. So after the market closes on Thursday. And on that day, that's when we could see some very big announcements made by Tesla, and that could end up kind of switching the direction. Tesla could still make a very bullish move if we get huge news that actually pushes it above this key resistance zone right over here. So be on the lookout for that. Until then, I do expect Tesla to trade kind of sideways, maybe a little bearish until then. That's essentially what I'm seeing. That's what the chart suggests. So be prepared. Remember the key support and resistance levels, and I will most definitely see you guys in the next video. With that said and done, thank you for listening. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon because the long-term future is bright, and peace out.